The tools. We are typically going to be an Intergraph shop. Intergraph is actually not one of the most common ones in the natural gas industry, and Intergraph has chosen to shift their attention to electric utilities rather than natural gas utilities. There has been, the most common one is Esri, and NGTI is actually making a shift towards Esri and their applications and their tools. The technology, we call it our G Technology Prism, which essentially serves as our data warehouse. It operates for our compliance for the most part because it's pulling together the most important things in terms of compliance, which is the physical attributes, the stress test, and the population, and putting those all together into a manageable sort of report for our compliance managers and directors to make quick decisions in terms of how to resolve issues. Tools, we are a geographic type of shop. We mentioned before we use a lot of GIS type systems is what we use. Some of the applications we use to take advantage of that and leverage those capabilities are a product called XMAP and a product called GeoMedia. Some of the benefits. Being an industry leader in safety and compliance is a big deal because if you are always compliant when you have the regulators come and audit you, when the regulators are looking to make new regulations, they look to the industry leaders to help craft some of those regulations. So it's an opportunity to help shape what governs you. And if you have a good reputation with your auditors and regulators, you have an ability to help shape what actually governs what your operating pressures and things like that can be. Very important. When new regulations do come out, it's quicker to identify the spots that those regulations affect in your pipeline system, rectify the situation quicker than your competitors, and get things up to operating pressures quicker than you would otherwise. We talked about better operating business decisions, company growth. This is a big deal because as industries work, the pipeline, really the only way to grow is acquisition. You got to buy additional pipelines. It's very difficult in this sort of a social kind of conscious awareness for the public that building a pipeline is not a very popular decision. So the only way to grow in a company like this is acquisition. You got to know how that new acquisition potentially could benefit in terms of modeling geographically how that's going to work in terms of your pressures and how their pressures are going to interact. All these type of things help model that thing. And then of course risk areas, identifying them and resolving them very quickly. The challenges. There's so much information in this data warehouse that sometimes when you're looking for a particular type of information, running a report and having that report be the proper report and the correct amount of information and type of information can be challenging, so you don't overload and kind of clutter the system in terms of the type of decision. Trusting the data. This is very close to home as I'm involved with data integrity projects in terms of making sure that the data that's getting put into our systems and the data that has been in the system is the most accurate data and correct data, so people who are accessing this for vital business decisions can trust the data and use the data and rely on the data that they're making proper decisions based on good data. The reason our data gets kind of messed up sometimes is because of the acquisition strategy. The more we acquire systems, the more we have to integrate their data into our system. If they don't have business intelligence tools and systems that are compatible, we have to consider that in terms of acquiring them, whether or not we want to just scratch it and we start over with a new input, or whether or not we can integrate their system into it. So there's an ongoing struggle in terms of maintaining and that data integrity as we continue to acquire storage systems and transmission systems. So there's discussion questions. That was a real kind of flyby on the natural gas and how we're using our business intelligence. But current timing, we talked about real-time data warehousing. Current timing of the new data being integrated into data warehouses is on the order of around 6 months on average. This is the time it takes to get to the field of construction, maintenance, etc. in other words, and actually to a manual input where someone's manually inputting the data into our database. Hopefully they're trained and they're accurately doing this. What advantage would there be for NGTI to shift to a real-time data warehouse, if any? This is obviously not a retail business, and it's not as quick as maybe some other industries might need data run the spot. Construction happens, once a year, a couple times a year. It's not as quick as you would in a retail. So my question would be, is there an advantage for the real-time data warehousing in this type of industry? The second question, the NGTI growth strategy is to acquire new pipeline and storage systems. With the growing reliance on business intelligence systems, how important do you think it would be for NGTI to consider the potential companies that they're going to acquire, to consider their business intelligence maturity and or their vendors that they're using and how compatible it is with our systems in terms of the transfer of data. Very often you'll have the CEO and marketing departments want to acquire a system. As soon as we have the system acquired, increase the pressure because it drives more cash flow and more revenue from a particular target market they have. So I'd be interested in your input on those two kind of discussion questions, as they are very real questions for us in our industry. Other than that, that's how the natural gas transmission industry uses their the business intelligence systems. I figured it'd be an interesting look outside of all the different other kind of environments that we're searching with. So I appreciate your time, and I hope this is interesting for you. Thank you.